Hey everybody, welcome back to another Judgment commentary of Kaguya-sama, Love is War, but today we're going to be checking out episode 10. And last time, on episode 9, Kaguya tried to take advantage of the fact that it was raining and all of the trains were being delayed a little bit to get Miyuki to ask her for a ride home. You know, it would be a very romantic thing, going on a ride home and all that, but sadly, as you would expect, the plan failed. Because as Kaguya was standing outside waiting for Miyuki to run out and dramatically ask her to drive him home desperately, he just decided to hop on his bike and ride home as fast as possible. Yep. A little bit of a risky move. You'd think that someone might get sick biking home in the rain with no cover, but fortunately for him, he didn't get sick. Kaguya did. Yeah, in that amount of time that Kaguya was standing outside waiting for him, she actually caught a bit of a cold. And when Kaguya gets a cold, apparently it just shuts down like 60% of her brain and she's left in a very dependent, childlike state. And when Fujiwara heard that she was sick and in this state, she desperately wanted to go over and visit her so she could take advantage of this, you know, to get a bunch of free hugs and whatnot. And Miyuki also wanted to get the most out of this as well, but thanks to Ishigami chiming in and saying it wouldn't really be safe for everybody to go over and say hi to Kaguya, they instead had to decide the one person who got to go over. Via a card game. A card game known as Memory. And Fujiwara was very desperate to win. She really wanted to go and see Kaguya, so she was willing to cheat. And not only just cheat, she had multiple layers of cheating ready for this exact moment. She had 2 different decks of marked cards that she was going to try to use to give herself an advantage, but unfortunately for her, Miyuki caught onto it. And thus, he was the winner of the game and he got to see Kaguya. But once he arrived and saw for himself the very vulnerable position Kaguya was in, he realized he couldn't bring himself to take advantage of her while she's in this position. A very noble thing indeed, but that wasn't going to stop sick Kaguya from trying to do something. She directly, point-blank asked him to sleep with her. Literally, of course, as in literally just lie down next to her. Which would still, you know, be a little compromising for the guy, as the temptation to try to make a move of any kind while in that position would be immense. And he didn't want to do that, and thankfully he had a way out. He was very, very sleepy, so he just fell right to sleep. Didn't stop her from being a very awkward moment when she woke up and started tossing things at him, but still, nothing happened. And this brings me to that thing that was at the very end of the episode where it said, "It's still white," which, when I saw that, there was like 2 possible things I thought it could be referring to. The first of which should be obvious based on what I was saying, but the second, well, the second thing I thought it was pretty much the right answer. Because according to y'all, "It's still white" was just too literal of a translation, and contextually speaking, that's not what they were trying to convey. Apparently, more accurately, it was saying it's still pure or still a virgin. And given the context of her, you know, lifting up the covers like that, I thought that could mean one of 2 things, but it is very clearly the second thing with that translation in mind. Because yeah, both Kaguya and her maid Hayasaka didn't know what happened. Kaguya herself forgot because she was sick, and her maid, she wasn't there. So I'm sure at first she assumed something did happen because she was kind of goading Miyuki into doing something. A little unethical, but hence why she needed to investigate that any way she could. And found that, yeah, nothing went down. Yet. Yeah, things got pretty heavy for a second there, and pretty fitting for the first episode that was just one continuing story rather than 3 smaller ones, but for now, let's just see what episode 10 has got for us. Yep, that was a good episode. Wrapped up things quite nicely after the the intensity of episode 9, them finding a way to reconcile their emotions about that whole scenario. And hey, I also like the little switcheroo they did where it was Kaguya asking Kashiwagi about relationship advice, instead of the other way around, because she was in desperate need of it at that point. Although I do wonder why Miyuki didn't talk to her boyfriend, like just do a complete switch and it's him talking to him instead, but I don't know. I mean, Ishigami definitely was going to be more entertaining in that scenario, I don't think Kashiwagi's boyfriend, as he's called, would get as stirred up about it. Definitely not as much as Ishigami did. So he was the right guy for the tone that they wanted to set, but it still might have been nice to get the complete 180 of it, but I see why they didn't do it. Because strangely, Ishigami and Kashiwagi both took a similar stance on that. They both got very fired up and passionate about, their side of the story. Of course, each of them only heard one side of the story, so they didn't get the full picture of events until, near the very end, when they started being more open about the information. But in the end, both of them came to the same conclusion, that there was nothing really wrong that happened, so they were both kind of confused on what they were even upset about. And in the end, what they were both upset about was the fact that nothing happened. Kaguya wanted something to happen, and it didn't. And Miyuki wanted to do something, but didn't. So the only way for them to fully reconcile that was to open up at least a little bit about what happened, resulting in him just going up to her and saying, "Hey, I lied. I didn't actually not lay a finger on you at all. I put my finger up to your lips." And just that one little interaction was enough for Kaguya. But honestly, I think I have just enough information from this encounter to make yet another entry of everyone's favorite segment, Overanalyzing Fictional Relationship Advice. This is a very specific scenario the two of them wanted advice about. I was sick and my mind wasn't clear, so I pulled a guy into my bed. You don't hear about that one very much. But to look at it more generally, this was an awkward emotional encounter between the two of them. One was being more open about their feelings than they would normally be, and the other was holding their emotions in, completely not letting any out. And what caused them both to feel bad is that neither of them were being fully true to themselves, and similar circumstances can happen where two people get into a situation, at least somewhat comparable, where they're not being true to their feelings, and in the end, they found a good solution. Be more truthful. Be more open about how you feel, and about the truth of what happened. Instead of just blowing it off being like, "Hey, sorry about that," and just moving on, you gotta open up a little bit. Be a bit more vulnerable than that. In the end, they weren't given the advice to just be more open about it and not hold anything in, but still, it is a positive lesson that if someone is in a situation where they are holding back how they felt about it and are still feeling bad about it, then the only real way to fix it is to just open up. So I would rank this fictional relationship advice as an A. Even if I had to dig a little deep for it. Because in the end, they didn't really give much advice. But honestly, I like this one a lot. It again had a driving narrative theme across all three segments about Kaguya and Miyuki's latent feelings about their encounter. Except for the last one, it wasn't really about that. They had it all wrapped up by the second segment anyway. But the third one was still fun. It called back to the trip that they were planning near the very beginning of the show, but sadly that trip to the spooky mountain doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. Instead, they're going to the festival, which I assume maybe the next episode's going to be about that, given how this one ended. They're gonna eat some octopus balls. But overall, very good. I loved the way this little mini emotional arc paid off between Miyuki and Kaguya. It was resolved in the most satisfying way I can imagine. Just in a completely amicable win for both sides. Totally awesome. But anyway, I think it's going to be it for now, guys. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. Subscribe to be updated on more. That would be great. Next time, we got episode 11. The penultimate episode of Season 1. And if I may just pull up the the episode's files here, just for a brief second, so you guys can see. Episode 11 here. The preview image, looking a little beach episode-esque. Is that what we're going to be getting into here? I mean, they are starting their summer vacation, and they're going to like a summer festival, so I'd be shocked otherwise. But like I said, that's it. So till we meet again, I will see you guys later.